My parents shadowed me even after the court removed me. Then I discovered a message my parents relentlessly pursued me. Even after the court separated me from them, I found a chilling note that read, "We'll see you back home soon." The police apprehended them lurking at 2:30 am. My parents always dismissed the importance of privacy, treating it as something shameful. My mother would rummage through our rooms while we slept, and if she discovered schoolwork I hadn't shared, she'd force me to kneel on grains of rice until sunrise. The sharp grains dug into my skin, leaving tiny marks that lingered for hours. When the pressure broke my skin, small red dots stained the white rice. No matter how I shifted, the piercing pain in my knees was unrelenting. My father was the enforcer, setting the rules. He decided how long we knelt, whether we could lock the bathroom door, and what we wore to ensure his punishments were visible if we disobeyed. When he shouted, veins pulsed on his forehead, his face flushed crimson, and the sharp scent of his aftershave twisted my stomach with dread. I despised them and their control. I resisted in every small way I could, hiding notes from friends, candy wrappers, or personal trinkets under my mattress. In the bathroom, I'd whisper private thoughts to my reflection, practicing secrecy. Their constant oversight made the house feel suffocating, like I couldn't breathe. But my brother was fully devoted to their rules. He followed them with fervor, urging me to comply. At night, I could hear him arranging his neatly organized belongings in his room across from mine. If he glimpsed one of my private messages, he'd rush to tell our parents I was keeping secrets, smirking as they punished me. He seemed to revel in my suffering, his face glowing with satisfaction. Selfishly, he'd confess trivial things at dinner, acting as if he held power. "I got upset with my math homework today and thought about quitting," he'd announce, as if admitting a grave sin. I squirmed in my hard wooden chair, dreading what came next. Our parents praised his openness, and it paid off for him. They extended his curfew by hours and stopped searching his room daily. He strutted through the house with newfound confidence, giving me knowing looks when our parents weren't watching. Meanwhile, my punishments grew harsher. If I didn't immediately report every detail of my school day upon arriving home, I faced severe consequences. The sound of my father's belt sliding through his pant loops was a nightmare. I'd flinch in class when sitting, lying to teachers about my pain. "I fell during soccer practice," I'd say, or "I bumped into a table." The classroom's fluorescent lights made me feel exposed, even when no one was watching. Things worsened when my parents allowed my brother to search my belongings. He loved it, tearing through my things with invasive delight, tossing items aside while grinning. "I didn't tell them about this," he'd say mockingly. I'd wake to the sound of my drawers being yanked open, lying still, pretending to sleep as he rifled through my few possessions. Sometimes, he'd lie about finding a hidden note just to be cruel. I'd press my cheek to the floor, begging them to believe me, the carpet scratching my skin. After my tears, they'd lock me out of my room, forcing me to sleep on the cold, sticky leather couch with a thin blanket that did little against the living room's chill. My brother would linger in the hallway after my punishments, smirking like a victor. "Liars get what they deserve," he'd whisper as he passed, "or you're lucky it's not worse." The dim hallway lights cast long shadows that seemed to clutch at me. No matter how hard I tried, earning straight A's, studying late with heavy eyes, cleaning the house until my fingers ached from scrubbing, or carefully cooking dinner to avoid mistakes, my efforts were never enough. If I didn't share every detail of my life, they saw me as deficient. Their disappointed stares hurt more than the physical punishments. Sometimes, they'd give me the silent treatment, eating together at the dining table while I sat alone at the kitchen counter. Their forks scraped plates, their casual chatter and laughter a stark contrast to my isolation. The counter's cold, rough surface and my tasteless food deepened my loneliness. One night, after a particularly brutal reprimand, I felt crushed by pain and solitude. The house was silent except for the ticking hallway clock and creaking floorboards. In a moment of desperation, I confided in my brother, hoping he could be an ally. My voice trembled in the dark hallway as I shared my need for support, seeing a flicker of softness in his expression. Within an hour, my father had me face down over his lap, belt in hand. I bit into a pillow to stifle my screams, the fabric tasting of dust and salt from my tears. Each of the 12 strikes sent waves of agony through me, the leather's slap echoing in my ears. That betrayal hurt more than the pain. I realized my brother wasn't just obeying out of fear, he truly believed in their rules. That night broke me. I stopped resisting after that. I threw out my journals, letting my thoughts and feelings vanish with them. I deleted all my texts, only messaging when necessary. My phone screen became as empty as I felt inside. When forced to confess, I made up sins. I thought about cheating on a test, or I lied about finishing my homework. The lies satisfied their need for control, but I felt hollow, yet a small spark of defiance remained. I began hiding tiny notes to myself in my mattress seams or under my desk drawer, simple affirmations like "stay strong" or "this won't last forever." Writing them felt like gasping for air after being submerged. Of course, that backfired. My brother caught me writing a note and reported it. His footsteps echoed down the hallway like a countdown to my punishment. My mother screamed that they were done with me, her voice shrill and piercing. My father's belt slid from his jeans with its familiar slither. They smashed my flip phone against the wall, plastic shards scattering across the floor. I couldn't eat for 4 days, my stomach twisting in protest. After that, they shadowed me constantly around the house, their footsteps and watchful eyes relentless. They demanded I confess secrets 3 times a day in the living room, my legs shaking on the scratchy carpet as I recited fabricated wrongdoings while they judged from the couch. My brother sat there, smiling as if he were righteous, the sunlight catching his smug expression. His accusation of liar during one confession cut deep, lingering in the air. My parents didn't react harshly, but that word shattered something inside me, like a cord stretched beyond its limit. I decided to escape. The weight of that choice settled in my chest, heavy but freeing. The next day, I told a teacher about my home life in an empty classroom, sunlight streaming through the windows, dust dancing in the air. My words spilled out, years of pain and fear flooding the desk between us. She was horrified, her face frozen as I spoke. Soon, I was in the counselor's office, waiting for my parents. After 25 minutes, I heard my mother's voice yelling down the hall, demanding answers. My brother was with them, his eager footsteps outpacing theirs. When the door opened, my mother rushed in, feigning concern, her perfume overwhelming the small room. She hugged me, but I flinched, my body recoiling before my mind could process. The counselor, Miss Lefevre, noticed, her eyes narrowing. My father stood in the doorway, hands in pockets, playing the calm, concerned parent. My brother lingered behind, his innocent act betrayed by a calculating glance. Miss Lefevre explained that I'd reported serious physical punishment at home. My mother denied it, her voice rising in outrage, claiming they'd never hurt me. My father dismissed the rice punishment as a misunderstanding, suggesting I was making up stories for attention. His calm, reasonable tone was reserved for outsiders. I shouted about the marks on my knees and back, my voice growing stronger as I realized someone was listening. Miss Lefevre confirmed the school nurse had documented my injuries. My parents exchanged glances as my father leaned forward, palms open, insisting kids get bruises all the time. When I mentioned not eating for 4 days because of a note I wrote to myself, the room fell silent, save for the hum of the air conditioner and the ticking clock. My brother shifted uncomfortably, his usual confidence faltering. My mother urged him to confirm we'd eaten dinner together, and he claimed she'd made lasagna, his voice steady and rehearsed. I countered, describing how they'd left me to eat alone at the counter while they dined together, my nails digging into my palms. My father stood, his chair scraping loudly, declaring they'd take me home to settle this family matter. The word family sounded menacing. Miss Lefevre stood firm, announcing she'd already contacted Child Protective Services, CPS, who were sending someone that day. The air grew heavy, my parents' fake smiles fading. My father's jaw tightened as he reached for his belt, though he claimed they were good parents. My brother accused me of lying for attention, even fabricating a story about me faking a stomachache to skip a math test, a complete lie. The injustice burned in my chest. A sharp knock interrupted the tension. Clara Hoffman from CPS entered, her heels clicking, followed by Officer Laurent, his badge glinting under the lights. My heart pounded so hard I could barely hear. In the hour that followed, my parents painted me as a troubled child seeking attention, while my brother described a perfect family that never existed. In a private meeting, I showed Miss Hoffman my scarred knees and bruised back, detailing the confessions, searches, and broken phone. Each word lifted a weight from me. When we returned, my parents' smiles hid their fury, their eyes promising retribution. Miss Hoffman announced a home visit and placed me with an emergency foster family for the night. My father protested, knocking over his chair, insisting I was his child. Officer Laurent calmly urged cooperation, his hand near his belt as a precaution. My mother's theatrical sobs and my brother's fervent support rang hollow. I was stunned. Someone had finally heard me. Miss Hoffman helped me collect my things from my locker, the metal door clanging in the empty hallway. As I walked away, I felt my parents' and brother's glares burning into me, though Officer Laurent blocked my brother's attempt to call out. That night, I stayed with the Morrows, a foster family. Their quiet home had a guest room with pale blue walls and a window overlooking a small garden. Mrs. Morrow assured me it was my space, and no one would enter without permission. I locked the door and cried into my pillow, tears of relief mingling with pain. Over the next few days, CPS found rice in our pantry, a worn belt, and neighbors who admitted hearing screams but never intervened. My parents hired a lawyer, Mr. Schultz, and insisted I was unstable, tearing the family apart with lies. They began shadowing me, my mother's car idling outside school, my father watching from his car when I left the Morrows' home. My brother spread rumors to my friends, claiming I was mentally ill. Classmates began avoiding me, whispering behind their hands. One day, he followed me through the school hallway, smirking and whispering that no one would believe me, that I was the problem. I reported him to CPS, and Clara Hoffman secured a restraining order. The courthouse's marble halls echoed as the judge approved it, but my parents grew sneakier, staying just beyond legal limits. For weeks later, the court suspended their rights until they completed parenting classes and therapy. I'd remain in foster care for 8 months. In the parking lot, my father vowed it wasn't over, his voice carrying across the asphalt. My brother's glare chilled me. Life with the Morrows was strange at first, quiet, with simple rules like loading the dishwasher, written on a colorful fridge notepad. No punishments or confessions. I flinched at Mr. Morrow's touch, and he'd pause, understanding my fear. I hoarded food in my room, but Mrs. Morrow gently reassured me I could eat any time. Therapy with Dr. Novick, in her cozy office with plants and fidget toys, helped me process my hypervigilance. She validated my reactions, easing years of self-doubt. School was tough. Classmates avoided me or asked intrusive questions. My English teacher, Miss Steiner, offered her classroom as a quiet lunch spot. But notes began appearing in my locker. Liar in bold letters, or you make them cry every night, written in my brother's distinctive handwriting. I reported them, but security footage showed nothing. One day, my mother and brother pulled up beside me as I walked home, begging me to return, claiming they'd changed. My brother's anger flared, accusing me of destroying the family. I ran to the Morrows, breathless, and they reported it to CPS. That night, I received dozens of texts from unknown numbers, some pretending concern, others accusing me of hurting my family. I changed my number with Mrs. Morrow's help. 2 months later, Clara Hoffman said my parents were requesting supervised visits. I froze, terrified of seeing them. Dr. Novick reminded me I didn't owe them forgiveness. A week later, my brother confronted me in the school library, claiming the house was peaceful without me and that no one would believe me forever. He whispered they were only pretending to comply with therapy to regain custody. I reported him, and the school tightened security. 5 months in, my parents attended my public events, staying just far enough to avoid legal trouble. They spread rumors through community members who approached me with pity, saying my parents only wanted the best. My brother told classmates I was troubled, isolating me further. When my parents petitioned for reunification, claiming they'd met court requirements, I felt sick. Clara Hoffman and Dr. Novick prepared me for the hearing, teaching me breathing techniques to stay calm. The day before the hearing, I found another note in my locker. "See you home soon." My shaking hands dropped my books, drawing stares. A teacher escorted me to the principal, who reported it to CPS. That night, I saw a car circle the block at 2:30 a.m., its lights off. My instincts screamed danger. Mrs. Morrow reported it, but the police could do little without proof. The hearing loomed, and I braced myself to face the judge. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.